many of us start off life in a what we call a brownfield situation, where I've got tons of things out here that exist today, and I need to get them in the computer so I can add the new stuff that I want to build into my system. That's where reality capture comes in. There's all kinds of ways to capture reality. You can hook up a camera to a drone, and you can go up and use a tool called photogrammetry to stitch, impossible shapes together to make a digital representation. Photogrammetry it's available to everyone that has an iPhone. You can start using photogrammetry tools today. But you can also take into account laser scanners. Now, laser scanners are more high-end. It's a laser on the end of usually a tripod, and this laser is going to shoot out millions of lasers per second in order to record a particular area. Now, whether you use the laser-based LiDAR method or whether you use the photogrammetry method, this idea of going into the world, capturing real-world objects, and then bringing them back and getting them onto your computer gives you a whole new workflow to develop your factory floor. Reality capture techniques are incredibly commonplace. I mentioned your phone earlier. Most of your phones can do photogrammetry today. If you just have your camera phone and you take enough pictures of an object, there's usually going to be a photogrammetry app that you can utilize, or believe it or not, you can use one of the factory utilities, Recap Photo, if you want to come onto the Autodesk side and generate a photogrammetry model. There are tools to do that. But many of our phones have sensors on the back of them now that read spatial orientation. That's how your phone looks at your face and recognizes you as being you. And people are starting to take that that broadcast that your phone makes and starting to develop reality capture content based on your phone scanner that you're carrying around every single day. So I want to take a quick look at how reality capture can be utilized in a brownfield scenario for a factory layout. So here's a portion of a point cloud. And remember, point clouds are just points. This was done with a laser scanner. Now, the factory utilities have tools in there that allow us to deal and work with point clouds. So I can take them and clean them up and get them to the nicest position possible for the work that I have to do. And I'll be honest, it all comes down to eliminating as many points. In this case, I don't need the factory floor here. So I'm going to take away those millions of points to make the point cloud a little bit lighter so that I can use it easier inside of Inventor. Now, I might also want to view the data in an orthographic mode. That's amazing. To view reality in an orthographic mode makes things like cleaning up the floor here and getting rid of everything I don't need extremely easy. Another tool that's essential is establishing a coordinate system. The recap tool here is being used to establish a 0,0 point for this model, and we're going to have our digital model inside of Inventor correspond to the same 0,0 point. It's really important in any kind of layout process that all of your team members utilize the same origin point. Now, once my point cloud is cleaned up, I can then export it easily over into an Inventor, my CAD tool, and then I can insert it at the origin. So here is this reality capture populating into my layout space, and it's lining up perfectly. Now, there are tools inside of Inventor that help us to deal with point clouds. The box crop tool allows me to define points that I want to keep and points that I want to hide. So I can remove the roof of this cloud immediately and see up underneath of it where I need to place my assets. Now, speaking of assets, this is the first time you're seeing the factory utilities and the asset browser, which lets me go in and hunt up a number of particular, in this case, CNC machines, and easily populate them on my floor in context of reality. Really nice to be able to place my equipment knowing that I'm not going to foul anything because I've got reality recorded and I'm using it inside of my CAD tool. Now, you're going to hear me say this a number of times in the presentation, but you can scan anything. That forklift is actually a point cloud scan that I had. So instead of modeling the forklift, I just took the scan and used it as the asset. But now I've got my hybrid environment of point clouds and solid models ready to go that represent the future state of this existing layout. I hope you see how reality capture was essential for this particular process. I wanted to highlight a few points before we move on. Reality capture, it's amazing to take reality and to display it in orthographic mode. You know, we walk through reality all day long in perspective mode with depth of field or depth of vision. The things that are further away from you are smaller than the things that are closer to you. But we can take reality and we can put it into orthographic mode. This might be useful if you just want to trace the outline of the facility that you're working in. Take your scanner out, scan it, bring it up into the tool, and just generate an orthographic picture of the room that you're working in. Might be perfect for that, but we can go further than that. I also hope you took note of how we could establish the origin point in reality. So if, again, I mentioned it earlier, it's very essential that all of our team members on this project work to the same origin point. If you're in 2D AutoCAD, or if you're in 3D Inventor, if you're in Revit, we all want to agree where 0, 0 is. Well, now I can go out and record reality and establish where 0, 0 is in that model as well. Once the scans are imported into the Inventor environment, they will report to the 0, 0 point, and then I can start applying or adding my assets in context of reality to flush out the placement of machines in this brownfield scenario. Now, I mentioned very quickly earlier that you can use your scanner to scan equipment. You know, maybe you don't have a number of 3D modelers that are just sitting around with nothing else to do. You know, you don't have time to commit to modeling everything in 3D with extrusions and revolves. Well, listen, if you have a scanner, you can go out and scan a piece of equipment like this little generator here, and then bring the scan in, draw a little 2D footprint underneath of it like I did here, and then this becomes your asset to use in the future. Between you and me, I generated this scan with my cell phone. The scan you see here of the generator is a result of photogrammetry. This allows you to take any real world object and convert it into an asset that can be used over and over again. Now, we're going to talk about assets in the next chapter of our presentation, but I need you to understand assets. If you're at all an old AutoCAD user, think of the terms as blocks. But imagining going out into the world and finding a real world object, turning it into a digital block so that you can use it over and over again in any upcoming project. That's what reality capture brings to the factory layout solution.